what would you like to see change in the recruitment industry?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I think just especially coming from the lens of an Indigenous person and an Indigenous lived experience, I would love so much to see recruiting move into more uncharted territory, specifically instead of job boards, like moving into spaces where particularly digital spaces where Indigenous people frequent, where they gather. I'll share with like my own role as a small example that I wouldn't have come across this program if I hadn't been in a Treaty 7 Facebook group for people who want to share information, who want to meet other treaty people in our area, who just want to share like art or raffles or links and opportunities. And I have so much gratitude for being here because like every day is this fun new adventure, and training was a dream. I got to spend 3 weeks with my best friend Savio. And since like really I have like I don't think you could find a group of people where education is more valued. Certainly, like there are communities where it's as valued, but Indigenous people prioritize education. We call education the new buffalo. And I think if you like, if recruiting companies and recruiters were to pursue more creatively moving into Indigenous spaces, they would find some amazing overlooked candidates and for these roles that they're looking to fill, who also are going to bring an Indigenous lens and a little bit of a fresh perspective to the companies and the roles that we're looking to fill.
That's awesome. And you and I have talked about this. It's kind of goes beyond even just job advertising and where you choose to advertise, right? And
Yeah,
one of the things that was really important for the Indigenous recruiter training program is, setting up your application process to be different,
yeah,
because the status quo of, looking at a resume, seeing if the resume has particular keywords, it doesn't work for most people. A lot of people's experience doesn't translate well to the traditional resume, right?
yeah, true. Yeah.
Is there anything else like other than that you would suggest, like, or that you want to see change in terms of, not just where we're advertising, but like how we can maybe alter the process?
I would think that, like, I think something that um, I've thought a lot about in the past is just around um, more familiarity in cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I used to share a lot about in new spaces when I first learned about it is how there are some cultures that have a communication style called collaborative overlapping, which is
Mm.
where somebody demonstrates to you that they're so invested and so engaged in what you're saying that they can interrupt you and finish your sentence because you're on the same wavelength. But
Mm-hmm.
in the culture that I was raised in, to interrupt somebody is so rude.
Right.
And like how we demonstrate that we're really engaged is by like being very quiet and very intently listening and like really focusing. And so when these two communication styles come together, you have one person who looks like they're not engaged because they're quiet and thoughtful and letting you finish your full sentence. And then you have another person who is uh, like breaking some of these etiquettes of this other culture of interrupting and being very boisterous in their communication. And so I think about how that would translate to a pre-screening call or
Mm-hmm.
a screening call with some candidates, and that like if you're expecting somebody to demonstrate their excitement or their interest in a call by talking a lot or interrupting or interjecting. And it's somebody who is like me, raised in an Indigenous culture where you demonstrate that by being really respectful and really quiet and listening carefully. How there might be a missed opportunity for somebody who is really engaging in a different way that we don't necessarily prioritize in uh, Western society as it looks today.
Absolutely. I think that's such an important point, Dana-Rae, and that's definitely something that we encountered when we were building the program, and why it was so important to have Indigenous people consulting and collaborating and building this program with us, because it's
Yeah,
those small nuances, right, that you might not know as a non-Indigenous person and you might make assumptions about, but actually that's just the way that Indigenous people operate and the way that their
yeah,
culture, respects, interactions and things like that. And you might not know that, right? And so
yeah,
it's important when you're building relationships in general, with different communities, to have, what we call as participatory design, right?
yeah,
Like, make sure that you're involving folks from that community in what you're doing and getting advice and feedback throughout all
yeah,
aspects of it, so you can learn how to really build something that's not only sustainable, but that actually is relevant and inclusive, right, to folks that you're
yeah,
trying to serve.
yeah,
So that's a really important point. And I think it also does you really well as a recruiter, to be a very like intentional listener, right? You
yeah,
obviously don't want to be like talking over your candidates,
yeah.
uh, right?
Yeah, like interrupting their sentence and being like, "Great, I heard sequel, let's move it along."
Yes, yes, no, for sure. And
Yeah,
I think that definitely sets you up to be a really conscientious and effective recruiter. That skill, it's a skill. Not a lot of
yeah.
people have that skill, for sure.
Thank you.